So if we want to make a logo, we use what are called vector graphics, a different type of image than a regular graphic, which is made up of pixels of different coloured dots. A vector graphic is made up of points on screen and calculations between those points, so that no matter how far you zoom in, they always look crisp. This makes them really good for diagrams and for logos and for certain types of graphical items. So, for example, if you went to the Apple shop and they used bitmaps, it could look a little like this. But if we look here at some examples of vector graphics, you start to get an idea of what they're good at. They're often used in illustration, and that obviously would be super crisp, edges here, for these sorts of things. They can be used in what you might call figurative, but often, so that's not quite photographic, and that's made up of lots of different shapes filled with different colours. And so these are fantastic for making logos and designs that have this sort of appearance, or designs that can work at any size. So you're making your logo, and you want to think about typography and layout, and you can see here lots of these images might use a photograph in combination with them, but lots of them use only textual items or shapes of colours. Excuse me. So there are some resources here to help you explore fonts as well and find fonts that you might want to work with. But there's also resources to help you find free vector files. So a good one here is Free Vectors, and here you can see the sorts of graphics that are available. But if you were looking for a picture of something like a black and white cow, you might search and you find whole sheets of cartoon cows. But I'm going to imagine that somewhere in here there'd also be sort of photographic cows. Let's maybe try another one. Public domain vectors. Here's another place where you can find SVG files. So let's have a search for cow. And here we go. We've got some pictures that are sort of cartoony and very simple and would make a great logo. And some pictures that are more what you might call photographic. So with all these things, if I wanted to work with any of these, I don't think I even have to register to use this site, but I could download this image, and as you can see, I get an SVG file. But there's also the Noun project. So I needed to do a logo for this site, and I wanted something that was kind of probably quite cheesily about creativity. So I went to, let me find where we were, back. I went to the Noun project, which has huge collections of very simple icons. And so here you can say, well, I want let's say a brain. And there's one that I found. And as ever, I kept a copy on Google Keep just so that I can keep a reference to it. And I can get this icon basic, which means I've got to credit them, and download as SVG. And I thought I want to combine with that some other elements like lightning. Hopefully there's, and I can then say, yeah, which one do I like? Maybe that one. And get this icon. So once I've collected together some SVG files, I could use a tool like Inkscape, and there are many tools listed here. Inkscape's a desktop tool, but there are also web-based tools that are brilliant, like Graphic Designer, Vector, eDrawing or Vecteezy. They're all interesting tools. There's also tools to help you make them if you can't find one that you need out of a normal bitmap picture. We'll cover that in another lesson. So, for example, if I open Inkscape, here's one I was working on earlier. I'm going to close without saving that. Oh, and there's a cow that's been combined with the words moo. But let's make a new file to show you how editing in Inkscape's work. So I'm going to open, or import rather, those two files. The brain, okay, and use plus to zoom in. So there's two tools really that you need to know at the basic. This tool is for general manipulation. I can make things bigger. I think I can, if I double click down here, I can then edit those items. I can also, I believe, let's see if I've got the right tool. What I actually do, I actually just want to get rid of these bits, so I've got this nice and clean here. And I'm now also going to import the, let's say, the lightning. And these are two separate objects. And I can move like this. Click off and then click. How do I get onto there? There we go. Just takes a little bit of doing. And if I click this twice, I can rotate this around to be how I want. Now the amazing thing about vector graphics is that with this tool here, I can click on the object. Oh no, I can't. I first have to turn it into a path. Object to path. With this tool here, I can now edit the individual points on that shape, which is something that you couldn't do in a normal picture file. You could rub things out and move things slightly, but this being able to edit things, and you could even say, well, that nose is the wrong shape, so I can click on the nose, and you can see that every single point, quite hard to see, has a central point and either one or two handles with which I can alter the way the shape curves. So this could be a Pinocchio style here, and it's still a beautiful curve, and it's a curve that even when I zoom in, will always be a beautiful crisp curve. So can I undo that? Yeah, I can put that back where it was. So once I've got my logo arranged in the ways that I want, I can bring in photograph if I want. I can click on this object here, and there's a fill tool at the top, and I could say I want that to be yellow, like this. I might apply a stroke to it of black. Let's say I want the black stroke there, and I could say I want that stroke. I want it to be a bit thicker stroke because it's not quite heavy enough. Is that working? Let's make it one thick. I think it's maybe struggling slightly because I clicked it lots of times. There we go. Whoa, yeah, okay. So you can see now I can, let's imagine I've got this into a design that I like. I can then close down these little panels, and I can do export a well, the first thing I need to do is save this as a file. So I might call this lightning logo. Let's put that on my desktop, .svg, and this is my source file. But then I can also export as a Png image, and this is a bitmap image that might be something that I would use in another graphics program, or I might shrink it down for other purposes. So let's export this like that, and as we can see, probably hopefully on my, there's a PNG file that looks rather beautiful, and there's also my SVG file as well there if I want to make edits and export this out. But you see, equally I could export this in a format that would fit onto a billboard, and it would be as crisp as a billboard picture can be, whereas a bitmap image would start to look blocky like that Apple logo did. So bitmaps are for graphics, but SVGs are for particularly for this style of logos, diagrams, and text that look like this.